Fighting erupted Tuesday in eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, 3 days after a call by African leaders for a ceasefire and a brief lull in the conflict. M23 fighters attacked Congolese army positions in South Kivu province at dawn, local and security sources told AFP. The DRC government has designated the M23 rebel group as a terrorist organization, while the United Nations and the United States classify it as an armed rebel group. Congo accuses Rwanda of supporting the rebels, a charge that Rwanda denies. The resurgence comes after East and Southern African leaders called on their general staff to propose a plan for implementing an unconditional ceasefire by Thursday, in a conflict which has killed thousands and driven vast numbers from their homes. The M23 has in recent months swiftly seized tracts of territory in mineral-rich East DRC after again taking up arms in late 2021, in a country plagued by numerous conflicts for decades. The armed group began advancing in South Kivu after taking control of Goma, the capital of neighboring North Kivu province that borders Rwanda, at the end of last month. Clashes took place Tuesday near the village of Ihusi, around 70 kilometers, 43 miles, from the provincial capital Bukavu and 40 kilometers from the province's airport, according to security sources. Several local sources reported detonations of heavy weapons. Kavumu Airport is used by the Congolese army to transport reinforcements of troops and equipment to the region, and its main military base is located nearby. Bukavu has been preparing for an M23 offensive for several days, with schools shuttering in the city Friday as residents began to flee and shops closed over fears of an imminent attack. Banks were still shut in the city Tuesday. The capture of Bukavu would give full control of Lake Kivu to the M23 and Rwandan troops. Almost 300 Congolese soldiers are currently on trial in a military court in the city, 4 charges including rape, murder, and looting. The M23, which claims to want to liberate all of Congo and oust President Felix Tshisekedi, has attempted in recent days to advance into the highlands overlooking the main road to Bukavu to cut off the DRC army's supply lines. But Burundian soldiers, who are in East DRC to support the Congolese army, stopped the M23 advances, security sources said. Around 10,000 Burundian soldiers are deployed in South Kivu, according to a security source. Bujumbura sent at least 1 additional army battalion to the area Friday, a security source told AFP. The M23 has begun setting up its own administration in Goma, a city of 1 million people, launching recruitment campaigns, including to create a police force. The humanitarian situation in Goma is worsening with no running water in large parts of the city and residents forced to take water from Lake Kivu, where bodies were recovered after the fighting. An increase in cholera cases has been seen in the region, particularly among people displaced by the conflict, UN Humanitarian Agency, OCHA, said. The city's airport also remains closed despite a United Nations appeal last week to try allow for the transport of humanitarian aid and the wounded. The crisis in East DRC is set to be discussed at an African Union meeting in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia on Friday. With the recent intensification of the conflict, calls for de-escalation from the international community have increased amid fears the fighting could lead to a regional war. But diplomatic efforts to resolve the conflict that has lasted for more than 3 years have so far been unsuccessful. The DRC has called for targeted sanctions against Rwanda, but with little effect. Kinshasa accuses Kigali of wanting to plunder natural resources in the DRC, such as tantalum and tin used in batteries and electronic equipment, as well as gold. Rwanda denies this, saying it wants to remove armed groups it believes pose a permanent threat to its security, notably the Democratic Forces for the Liberation of Rwanda, FDLR, created by former Hutu leaders of the 1994 genocide against Tutsis in Rwanda. To add to Kinshasa's woes, an attack by a militia from the Lendu ethnic group in the northeastern Ituri province killed 51 people, local and humanitarian sources told AFP on Tuesday. Members of the Cooperative for the Development of Congo, CODECO, killed 51 mostly displaced people in 3 adjoining areas of Ituri province on Monday, humanitarian sources and a local community leader, Jules Tsuba, said. CODECO was a peaceful agricultural cooperative before transforming into an armed rebel movement fighting the rival Hema community. Monday's raid was allegedly a response to a strike by a Hema militia earlier in the same area. Different conflicts and rebellions have plagued the country for more than 30 years.